Many of us take life for granted, and when things get tough, it's easy to complain. Everyone needs inspiration now and then to remind us that life is a gift, and it's a gift we're lucky to have received. So to help bring this into perspective, let's take a look at some seriously inspiring people who've overcome life-changing difficulties and proven that even in the hardest times, life should not be taken for granted. Number 10. Sanchez. Like many people, Sanchez wanted to serve his country. So in 1996, he joined the Marines, where he served for 5 years, including a stint with the Special Forces. However, in the middle of a transfer from the Marines to the Navy, a motorcycle accident dashed that to pieces, damaging his spinal cord and leading to paralysis. While initially depression tried to set in, Oz didn't want to be defined by his spinal cord injury, and he developed an even greater zest for life in defiance of it, dedicating his life to education and cycling. As a hand cyclist, he's competed in several World Championship events and been a Paralympian 3 times since 2008. He's won 18 medals in total, including 2 golds in the Paralympics and 7 golds as a world champion. He's also earned a business degree, and he uses his public communications minor to give talks where he reminds people that they can turn their lives around, just like he did. Number 9. Gabby Shaw. As a dancer, there are few things that are worse than needing a leg amputation. But when Gabby Shaw was 9 years old, that was exactly what her doctors told her after a diagnosis of osteosarcoma, which is a form of bone cancer that was found in her right knee. But as a ballerina, she wasn't going to let a bit of surgery stop her from doing everything she loves, and opted for the one surgical option that would leave her with almost a full range of mobility. Known as rotationplasty, doctors removed the afflicted knee and moved her lower leg to her upper leg, attaching it backwards so that her ankle joint functions as a knee joint with her prosthetic. She's stayed as active as any kid should be, and beyond dancing, Gabby has pursued rock climbing, ice skating, cheerleading, and rollerblading. With a modified attachment for her prosthetic leg, she's even managed to dance in point. She's also been a cancer awareness advocate for years, raising funds for cancer research and mentoring other young cancer patients. Having only recently graduated from high school, the future includes plans to go to college and major in nursing. Considering everything modern medicine has given her, it's really no surprise that she wants to give back. Number 8. Jessica Cox. When Jessica Cox was born, a rare birth defect meant that she was born without arms. While you might think this would be something of a limiting factor in her life, it doesn't seem to have slowed her down. At 36 years old, she's already done more than most people do in a lifetime. Using her feet, she can drive a car. She can put in her contact lenses. She can play piano, and she even has 2 black belts. More impressively still, Jessica became the world's first licensed airplane pilot who flies using her feet. As a little girl, sitting on the swings and watching other kids on the monkey bars, she imagined that she could fly. Even after Jessica realized she was actually terrified of flying, she still made the decision to go for it anyway. No excuses. She went to university for psychology, and after graduating, she went on to become a motivational speaker, traveling widely and telling the world that if you dream big enough and want something badly enough, there's nothing that can stop you from getting it. Number 7. Spencer West. When Spencer West was very young, much of the lower half of his body had to be amputated because of a birth defect known as sacral agenesis. Rather than throwing a pity party about the unfairness of it all, he spent much of his life using his disability as a way to convince others that they can achieve their goals as a world-renowned public speaker. Between giving talks, writing an autobiography, and supporting a host of charities, he's also the first amputee to make it to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. Because the universe has a sense of irony, he frequently wound up encouraging his struggling, able-bodied friends to keep climbing when it got rough. To put it into perspective, 10 hikers a year die trying to make that climb, and upwards of 1,000 need to be rescued. Spencer did 80% of the climb on his hands and still managed to reach the top. He described the experience as beautifully overwhelming, despite the fact he couldn't feel his hands anymore by the time he reached the top. Number 6. Nick Vujicic. As a result of Terra Amelia syndrome, Nick Vujicic was born without arms or legs. Though he was raised with as much love and support as his family could give him, nihilism still managed to set in as he wondered if there was a purpose to life, or if he even had a purpose himself. Not one for spiraling downwards, Nick was able to pull himself out of his slump with the help of his friends, his family, and his faith. all of which have guided him throughout his life. Inspired by one of his high school janitors, from the time he was 19 years old, Nick's been giving talks, sharing both his story and his successes. In 2005, he founded the nonprofit Life Without Limbs Ministry, of which he is the president and CEO. He's also a best-selling author and has been featured by so many news sources and talk shows that it's hard to even list them. As of February 2012, Nick is married with 4 kids and resides in Southern California. Number 5. Henry Fraser. 17-year-old Henry Fraser was the sort of guy most teenage boys want to be. Popular, athletic, and a school prefect. Then, on a vacation that should have been the best part of his year, a miscalculated dive into the sea caused Henry to slam headfirst into the seabed, dislocating the 4th vertebrae and severing his spinal cord, which left him paralyzed from the neck down. While denial initially set in, it soon wore off and was followed by despair. But with his friends and family near, constantly at his side, together they managed to lift him back out of that pit and continue to support him to this day. He's since written a book about his recovery, and he gives public talks to encourage others and share his story. What he is perhaps most well known for, however, is his art. While he was sick, stuck in bed, and bored out of his mind, Henry used a basic drawing app on his phone and took a liking to the hobby. Now, Henry paints by holding a stick in his mouth with a paintbrush attached. And like this, he creates beautiful artwork that he shares with the world. Talk about determination. Number 4. Bethany Hamilton. Bethany Hamilton is a woman of many talents. As well as being a mother of 2, she's an author, filmmaker, public speaker, and skateboarder. Though she's best known for being a professional surfer, much of her fame came about from her miraculous survival when at the age of just 13 in 2003, a 14-foot tiger shark attacked her while she was surfing. The shark tore off her left arm just below the shoulder and took a chunk of her surfboard too. With the help of her best friend and her friend's father, they fashioned a tourniquet from her surfboard's tether. Despite that quick thinking, by the time she got to the hospital, she'd lost 60% of her blood. Her surgeon would later say that the bite was so clean he was almost convinced someone had already done the amputation. Luckily for her, Bethany Hamilton was tougher than the shark that bit her. Not one to be dissuaded from the sport she loved, Bethany kept surfing and had to learn to find a new center of balance before going on to win countless competitions. She handles her unexpected fame with grace, and when she's not surfing, Bethany is sharing her story and inspiring others. Number 3. Erin Fotheringham. Erin Fotheringham was born with a birth defect known as spina bifida, where the spinal cord and its covering aren't properly formed. He's used a wheelchair for his entire life, and while he admits to struggling with a few bouts of depression, on the whole he's decided that it's really a shame that other people are stuck using their feet instead of wheels. Wheels is, in fact, Erin's nickname, gained when he was young and pulling stunts in the skate park with his wheelchair, under the supervision of his adoptive family, of course. He's since made a career out of it, starting with BMX freestyle competitions, touring with Nitro Circus, and winning several WCMX competitions. That's wheelchair motocross, for those of you who haven't heard of this awesome sport. As a result of his determination, Erin even managed to land a 360 backflip. After posting the first wheelchair backflip online, his career exploded. He's traveled the world performing and speaking, and has mentored and counseled disabled children at summer camps across the United States. Erin's motto throughout his life has been, when life gives you a wheelchair, find a skate park. He's never seen his wheelchair as an impediment and doesn't want anyone else to either. Number 2. Zion Clark. When Zion Clark was little and growing up in the foster system, he took an interest in wrestling early on. That desire never waned, and by high school he was on the wrestling team. The only difference between him and everyone else on the team was that Zion didn't have legs. He was born with caudal regression syndrome, which is characterized by abnormal fetal development of the lower spine. Whereas many people would look at it as an excuse to never get involved in life, Zion figured it offered him an edge as a wrestler. Walking with his arms had given him incredible upper body strength, and he had phenomenal access to his opponent's legs. By his junior year of high school, he was winning matches on a regular basis. Evidently not content with just being a wrestling star, Zion is also a member of the Paralympic track team, where he wins races and places third in the shot put. Turns out that people like Zion, when faced by a limitation, don't just accept it, they wrestle it into submission. Number 1. Johnny Quinn. In 2003, when Johnny Quinn was 4 years old, he was caught in a shed fire and was trapped in the blaze until his older sister followed the screaming and pulled him out. While her quick thinking and putting him in the bathtub with cold running water was commendable, he still had burns over 95% of his body. He spent 2 months in a medically induced coma, spent a solid year in the hospital, and has undergone 87 operations, including skin grafts, reconstructive efforts, and scar releasing. But because children can be cruel, and so can certain sections of the internet, Johnny was horribly bullied as he got older. He was called names like Freddy Krueger and told he shouldn't be alive, which tanked his self-confidence. By age 13, he was anorexic and miserable. With the help of his family, however, Johnny came to realize that confidence is a habit, not a trait, and he made it his goal to build that habit into his life. Through fashion, modeling, charity work, and bodybuilding, Johnny's self-confidence has blossomed, and this infectious attitude has won him friends and admirers from all over the world. Johnny says he's not just a burn survivor, but a burn thriver, and he works every day to remind himself and others that having confidence is a choice you can make, even in the hardest of circumstances. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling full of inspiration after that. We could all dream of being half as positive about life as some of these people. Who inspired you the most? And do you know someone inspirational that deserved a mention? Let me know in the comments section down below, and until next time, thanks for watching.